E-commerce or electronic commerce refers to the buying and selling of goods and services over the internet and has become a major part of today's economy. It can be divided into four main types: business to consumer, consumer to consumer, and consumer to business. Although these transactions happen online, they are still governed by basic contract law, which requires an offer, acceptance, considerations, and intention to create legal relations. In Malaysia, the Electronic Commerce Act 2006 confirmed that contracts made through electronic message are legally valid and enforceable. To protect consumers, especially in online transactions, the Consumer Protection Act 1999 was amended in 2007 to include e-commerce, ensuring that online buyers are protected against false advertising and poor quality products. Additionally, the Consumer Protection's Electronic Trade Transactions Regulation 2012 require online sellers to provide clear information such as business details, product descriptions, total price, payment methods, and delivery times. While Malaysia has made significant progress in regulating e-commerce, challenges remain, particularly in enforcement and cross-border issues. Therefore, it is important to assess the current legal frameworks, identify gaps, and suggest improvements to strengthen consumer protection in Malaysia's online marketplace. In the early years of e-commerce, consumer protection was severely deficient due to a combination of slow legislative response, weak regulatory frameworks, limited technological safeguards, and low public awareness. Legal uncertainty was a major issue, as electronic transactions were not widely recognized as legally binding, and lawmakers were hesitant to grant them formal legal status. This allowed online platforms to operate with minimal accountability. Consumers often lack a clear understanding of their rights and had little resources when dealing with problems such as undelivered goods, unauthorized charges, or defective products, especially in cross-border transactions where jurisdictions were ambiguous. Moreover, data privacy and informed consent were also poorly addressed. Early platforms frequently collected, store, and share personal data without adequate privacy policies and user consent. On the technological front, basic cyber security measures such as encryptions and fraud detections were largely absent, making users vulnerable to hacking and data breaches. Furthermore, businesses were not required to implement proper data protection practice, further exposing consumers to risk. The absence of international legal frameworks exacerbates these problems by enabling unscrupulous sellers to exploit gaps in enforcement across borders. Collectively, these deficiencies such as legal ambiguity, lack of consumer rights, poor data privacy, weak cybersecurity, and jurisdictional uncertainty undermine trust in early e-commerce and hindered its growth, ultimately highlighting the need for stronger laws and technological standards that have since emerged to support safer and more transparent online transactions.
I'm Jasid, and I'll be presenting the third part, which is Legal Framework for the Protection of E-Consumers. This section is divided into two parts, which are legislation and platform. First, we look into the legislation part. Malaysia has passed a number of laws and regulations to protect the interests of all e-consumers, and the primary legislation is the Consumer Protection Act 1999. It is amended in 2007 to include electronic commerce. This act protects e-consumers from exploitation by allowing firms or dissatisfaction, prohibiting misleading products or price descriptions, and banning unfair contract terms favoring suppliers. Apart from that, we have Consumer Protection Electronic Trade Transaction Regulation 2012. Under the CPA, this regulation requires online sellers and marketplaces to disclose key details like business owner's name, company registration numbers, product description, prices, payment methods, delivery time, to ensure transparency and therefore to protect e-consumers. After that, we have Electronic Commerce Act 2006. The ECA legally recognizes electronic messages commercial transactions, which means if an another Act to protect the interest of the e-consumers, which is Sales of Goods Act 1957. Okay, this act is presumed applicable to online transactions. SOGA protects e-consumers through Section 15, which provides that goods must match their description, and Section 16, which states that goods must be of merchantable quality and fit for purpose. These are important for online buyers as they rely on product description when purchasing. After that, we have Contracts Act 1950 to protect the interests of e-consumers. This act covers all contracts including electronic ones. The act offers basic contract protecting to e-consumers. However, it is quite outdated and the effectiveness is questionable. Last but not least, we have the last local law to protect the interests of e-consumers, which is Direct Sales and Anti-Pyramid Scheme Act 1993. This act is revised in 2020 to include e-commerce as mail order sales, and Section 19A of the Act makes it illegal to sell goods electronically unless compliant with the Act, and it protects e-consumers from unregulated or illegal online transactions. Now we look into the second part, which is platform. In Malaysia, there are several platforms that can be used by the e-consumers to make report or complaints, or even to resolve dispute with the seller. And one of them will be the Tribunal for Consumers Claims (TCC). It's established under Section 55 of the Consumers Protection Act 1999. This tribunal offers a fast, low-cost way for e-consumers to seek redress, and the claims can be filed online via its official website. Second, the consumer can also make report directly to the Ministry of Domestic Trade and Cost of Living, which is KPDN. E-consumers can report complaints through on hotline, WhatsApp, email, the R1 portal, or the Easy R2 app, making it easy to report issues with online purchases. Apart from that, we have also checked Mio website, which is under the Royal Malaysia Police. This site allows e-consumers to verify bank accounts, phone numbers, or IC numbers linked to scams. It helps prevent online fraud before making a purchase. Lastly, we have Malaysian Communication and Multimedia Commission, MCMC. MCMC's complaints portal handles issues related to telecommunications, broadcasters, and deliver services. E-consumers can submit and trade the complaints online. And these are the legal protection for the e-consumers. Thank you.
Good day, my name is Tan Chin Sui and I'll be presenting Part 4.0, Existing and Emerging Issues. Throughout our research, we found out that there are two persistent and emerging issues, which are 1. Lack of standardized cooling off period and absence of specialist arbitration courts. Let's start with lack of standardized cooling off period. Cooling off period literally means a period where consumers are allowed to re-evaluate a purchase or a consideration, and where the situation is necessary, allowing them to withdraw themselves from the agreement. E-commerce involves both online retail and direct selling. Online retail is merchandising of products in miniature quantities to the public through the internet via an intermediary. Examples include buying products from Shopee and Lazada. Direct selling, on the other hand, means a business method where goods are sold to consumers directly by the parent organization, without involving an intermediary or through an authorized independent distributor. While there are standardized cooling off periods for direct selling, which is stated in Direct Sales and Anti-Pyramid Scheme 1983, the governing statute for online retail, which is Consumer Protection Act 1999, has no provisions regarding standardized cooling off period. This creates a serious problem, as many Malaysians use online retail method to buy products. This also shows that there are still loopholes even though the statutory provisions have been enacted. Moving on, the next issue is absence of specialist arbitration court. A specialist arbitration court are courts which are able to provide a neutral third party which has expertise in certain fields to resolve disputes. This is different from a general arbitration where the court might or might not utilize individual with certain expertise. Unfortunately, under the Malaysian legal system, there are still no establishment of such arbitration. The disadvantages which follow with such absence include absence of better suited expertise, in which the parties in dispute might choose an arbitrator who is not an expert in the field and come out with the wrong judgment or judgment which is less impartial. Number 2 is time consuming, in which the absence of a required expert might lead to a prolonged arbitration process. Number 3 is heavier burden of costs, in which upon a prolonged period of arbitration, what will naturally follow is a heavier burden of costs. In conclusion, the root cause include poor online privacy management, weak cybersecurity protections, and cross-border transactions, which leads to the establishment of statutory provisions such as Consumer Protection Act 1999, Consumer Protection Electronic Transactions Regulations 2012, and also Electronic Commerce Act 2006. However, despite such enactment of statutory provisions, there are still persisting and emerging issues, which include the lack of standardized cooling off period and also the absence of specialist arbitration courts.